Is Bitcoin going to reach over $100,000 before the next halving? That's what I want to look at in today's video, as we suspect there are going to be some very significant calls to extreme upside targets, probably well before the top is in, and unfortunately after the top is in as well. So if you want to understand what it is that we're looking at when it comes to the macro cycle, knowing when a good opportunity to buy and when a good opportunity to sell is, you know what to do. You've come to your home of macro cycle analysis across the stock markets, crypto, Bitcoin, and real estate. How do we cover them all? Subscribe and find out. And if you are subscribed, thank you very much for joining the journey here, hitting that like button as soon as you jump onto these videos. Now, today's video, you probably see something in the title around some crazy calls. It's strange that we're getting to that point right now, which makes me think that we've probably got a fair bit more time underneath some critical resistance levels. But before I get to that, I just want to quickly drop in on our members and the profits that they are making. These are all very reasonable profits here. It's a lot of honest returns because there are even some losses in this as well. So this is basically what we do full time for TIA Premium. There is a link to this in the top of the video description if you want to learn more about trading crypto full time. Look at these gains, 200%, 26, 7, 29%. Well done to you guys. Link in the top of the video description for TIA Premium. And if you want to understand some of the reviews from the members, go across to the free Discord. Link is at the bottom of the video description and check out what people are writing about the course. This is part of the course here. Lots to get through. Let's dive into it. Okay, so crazy calls. Usually this happens at the tops. What am I talking about? There are calls for $160,000 by October of this year, and some of these targets are into early 2024. This is all over Twitter. Maybe you haven't seen it. Good luck if you haven't seen it. So good luck to you, honestly, if you don't get involved in this sort of stuff. Now, I bring it up because we are starting to see it, but I think it's going to get a little bit more prevalent in 2024 and people calling for these really big targets. So I want to try and just help clear the noise and see how this happens and how we can protect our profits. Because at the end of the day, it is easier to make the money, but to keep the money, as they say, as the old maxim goes, that is where the money lies, to be able to keep that money. Pretty simple thing here, looking at the Wall Street cheat sheet, something that we look at a lot. And we've been looking at this move up for BTC as a disbelief rally. But if you're here now in the video looking at 160 whatever $1,000 for BTC, you probably know that this is a bull market and you're just waiting for this whole entire period here, this optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. Why does it happen? These are the things that go through my mind all the time. Why do people get so involved in these huge targets? And mostly I think it's because of the thrill and the emotion that you're looking for when it comes to investing your money. We are most likely in this period now, this disbelief. We've been going up out of the depression and we're just coming across sideways here, waiting for the next move to the upside. If you think I'm having a go at some of these people, I'm out here on holidays. I don't care. This is what I do full time. Hopefully you guys get the picture here. This is just part of the game. And we're focused a lot on the bearish game, breaking down the narratives in the market to see how the bears missed the bottom in crypto and saw this 100% rise. They missed the bottom in the stock market. They missed the bottom in the NASDAQ. And it's just simple stuff repeated time and time again. So now we're looking at the opposite side where these calls go absolutely insane. And it's the hope that, shit, I got in late because I missed the bottom, but I've got this huge upside that I could get from Bitcoin, maybe 160 grand. If I get in at 30 grand, I can get this move to 160. And so the same thing happened on the flip side. So let's try and get away from these sorts of things. Basically, look out for some of the problems out there in the market and obviously save more of our money than we lose in the markets. Now, here's another one here as well, just looking at the possibility of what is called a left translated cycle. Basically, the top coming in the first half of the 4 years. Basically, the top of the cycle coming in within the first 2 years from the bottom. Hopefully That was all English for you guys who speak English, okay? So basically looking at this left translated, meaning that there could be a top somewhere late 2023 or early 2024 before the halvening. Again, we've covered multiple reasons why this is not going to happen. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball and there's no guarantees in the market, yada, yada, all of the disclaimers. But when we look at the S&P and the NASDAQ, the gold markets out there and real estate, which has started to go up, the data is there. Bitcoin is going to follow suit. People have money, they get excited, they go and gamble on the next thing, and they will start to throw more and more money into Bitcoin as the cycle continues up. So I doubt, highly, highly doubt we are going to see a top in this market. Now, to get to these high prices that they're talking about up here at sort of 150-ish, 160 grand, that has to happen really soon. We're in August now, and they're expecting this to happen. These are the calls anyway, not my calls, but the stuff that I see out there online. And we can use this later in the cycle as well. But essentially, they're looking for this to happen in the next 9 or so months, 8 to 10 months. The reason I say that we can use this later in the cycle is because it is the psychology of the market with this super hopeful move to the upside. Now, we've seen it before, but before I get to some of those posts, let's just go through some of these other examples here. Now, this is like a moonshot move to the upside with a tertiary target of 265, secondary target of 165. This has got some pretty decent views here, 200,000, 800 likes, 170 reposts. Another reason why this happens is it gets you a lot of, well, it's basically like clout on social media. This stuff gets shared around so much and it looks so convincing. Here's your Elliott wave and then the pump to 160 grand in that time period. Now, I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm just saying that this is wrong. I'm happy to say it's wrong because it's not the analysis that it just doesn't work, in my opinion. I've seen it before. This is incorrect here. This is the top of the market, and it's just sort of using any which point. So anyway, enough on that. I'm just basically using these as examples from social media, not to have a go at the people. It's the opinions that we have to digest and break apart so that we can learn from the experience here. That these targets are probably not going to be met. Here's another one here, looking at a peak in 2025, going up to $250,000. This is the stuff that we saw in 2021, okay? So we saw a lot of these calls happen back here when they said the market was going to go to $100,000. Then there were calls for 200,000. If you were around in 2021, you might remember that. And it failed at 65 the first time, then failed at 69 the next time, and then the lower swing top and the crash from that point. Now, all this is a fractal copy and paste from this. It's garbage. It's absolute. If you know how to use copy and paste, okay, you've become an online technical analyst. Don't do it. It's going to destroy your mindset and destroy your portfolios. This doesn't win me a lot of new followers. It doesn't win me a lot of anything out there because it essentially is just breaking apart the hopium. And when we invest, all we want to see is hopium if we're on the bull side, or if we're on the bear side, all we want to see is just extreme fear that the market will collapse, market's going to collapse. And that's not what we look at. We look at the markets to make money from them, not to try and gain a huge mass following with ridiculous price targets based on copy and paste, and then a breakdown to the downside. Anywho, these are some of the things that were said back just 2 months before the peak in 2021. This is the sort of crap that you always see all over Twitter. It's the mindset stuff. It's December and Bitcoin's just, so they're giving you this vision, playing on emotions, right? To tell you that everything's going to be okay in the next couple of months, or the next few months. Here we are, it's December, Bitcoin's surpassed 150, ETH's over 20 grand, altcoins are pumping, bears are crying, life is good. Then you get this, oh my God, in my opinion, the next 48 hours, it'll give us one last buying opportunity before we make a new all-time high and, save this tweet, come back. 3 months later, it was back down to where that price was at that time there in September. What else? What other crap do we see? By December, we'll have pumped with gusto, etc., etc. It's the same thing over and over again. You can just go through. Thank you very much to Jumo here that screenshotted all of these took the person's name out, nicely done there. So not to have a go at the people, but these are the ideas that you will 100% guaranteed see again, because we're already seeing them, but it'll be even more so. Take a screenshot of the current cryptocurrency prices, compare them with the end of year. The upside will be huge. Okay, 24th of September 2021 to the end of year 2021. There is your September bar. There is your December bar, this red one and that red one. Look at the closing price. Huge, a huge, in their opinion, 43,800 and 46,000. So basically $2,500 difference end of year. Absolute garbage. That's what we will see time and time again. So something a little more not garbage and something that we can practically use so that we don't get caught up in the BS of the market over and over again. These $160,000 calls, they're going to get more wild towards the end of the cycle as well, so that you get that bigger gap. You know, the market might be at 50K or 100K. Maybe at the end of the cycle, that's, you know, we're sitting around 90 or whatever it is, who knows, right? But the price targets have to be that much bigger so that it keeps the psyche there of the masses. Saying the market's going to go to 120 when it's already at 90 isn't that exciting. You got to start saying it's going to go to 200 or 300 or 500, so it gets far more exciting for the people who came in late because they missed the bottom, like we're currently at in these very quiet periods, or like we saw prior to these quiet periods, we saw the extreme downside, those real volatile periods like June of 2022 and November of 2022. So something a little bit more simple to follow, and then I'll give you my thoughts on what I think is happening next over 2023 and 2024. Of course, I'm a little bit more calm when it comes to my opinions, but this is just like a nice simple look at where 28 months, because you got here 28 bars, where was 28 months in the first cycle? Well, it basically was just out into the this was the accumulation, the pump out, and then the reaccumulation. The current cycle, this is off. So unfortunately, they've used the wrong details again, but I bring it up. This is from Tech Dev because this is another extreme hopium account. They haven't used the top of the market. So when you measure 28 months, it comes out later in, I think it's, I'll go and look at it, but I think it's around early 2024, right? We'll look at it on the chart. What they've done is just try to make colored circles match other colored circles on a chart. They haven't used the end of the cycle. And that's what confuses a lot out there. And then you get the timing out. And if you get the timing out, then you're screwed, because there's no way you're going to get the exact price or some sort of price areas. You need to understand the timing of the market. And that's what we do here on the channel. So make sure you are subscribed, like the content up so that it comes through in your newsfeed. And I've talked about it in previous videos. This one is about a month ago now, 42K warning. You know, if the market pumps like we were just at, past that point and pumps to 42, we're going to see a lot of that same sort of crazy talk where the market needs to keep going. 50, 60, new all-time high, that sort of thing, right? Let's use this because this is another good way to look at things, just using the 28 bars as to what happens in the market. So let's start with this one right here. This is the full market, or the monthly chart of Bitcoin going back to the start of the market here, like this here in 2010, 2011. Here is the peak of 2013 in November. 28 bars takes us to the reaccumulation period after the breakout of the accumulation period, okay? So that's where that's where 28 months is. He's using 28 months because he's measured it from this top to the current month. Of course, that's out of alignment with the cycle, but it's still a good practice to look at the previous cycles in terms of months and where we currently sit. So we currently sit at 21, but 28 would take us out to March, so Q1 of 2024. Okay, so if we look at 21 months, because that's where we currently are from the peak, what was happening in the previous cycles? 2017, 21 months was basically on the come down from the peak in June. So the come down in this Q3 zone, after a lot of excitement happened from that low into the peak, then that was basically the come down, waiting, COVID, still waiting, lots of accumulation, and you can see that the reaccumulation is all happening at higher prices. Yes, COVID's in there, take that out because it was a really fast period, but nonetheless, have a look at that. Higher lows, barring COVID, which is okay. Sure, add that in if you want to, that's fine. Essentially, you're getting higher lows on the macro there, and you got an extra dip opportunity here, which did not go below the cycle low. Perfect. What happened in the previous cycle? 21 months was in the zone, was in the accumulation zone. So this one here was in the reaccumulation zone. This one here was in the accumulation zone. And then you had the reaccumulation, final peaks. The final peaks don't take that long. There's really not much to it. Usually 6 to 9 or so months, okay? Here's the breakout point to the peak, 7 months. There you go. You have a few months here hitting its head on the all-time high. Breakout, 7 months, show's over. Here we got the breakout into 14 or so K. So we measure it from that month to the peak, 6 months. Basically, the show is over for Bitcoin because the price didn't go any higher. The excitement was still there for altcoins. There's your extra chance to get into some altcoins and trade the game. So I suspect there's not going to be a long period next time round, okay? Meaning that excitement period at the top. So what do I think is going to happen now? Well, we looked at the amount of time here from the peak to the current month and what happened in the previous cycles. It's basically in the accumulation zone. It's basically in a boring period for several more months. Let's have a look. 22 months is what I was using here at the bottom because this is basically the breakout of the 50%. So within 22 months, you can see here 22 months and the breakout of the 50%, basically in these past 2 occasions, it's only 2 occasions as well, it's possible that we see a test of $42,000 to happen within the period between now and September of 2024. So basically 12, 13 months, a test of the 50% level, 42,200, and then a retreat. It could be a small retreat like back here where it tested at 700 and came back to 500, or it could be a deep retreat where it tested it all the way up to 14K when the 50% was only 11.5, and then it came all the way back to 4K, okay? So there are different opportunities. Things rhyme, but they don't have to repeat exactly, as you can see in these 2 occasions. Both of these occasions, you had something completely different, but it was on similar-ish timing. So that's the rhyming within the history repeating. So this time around, we are 1 year within the period of the low. This is 1 year within the low. Now this one, however, was out of the low. This is the low here. Forget this one here. This is a composite chart, so don't worry about that. If you're looking at it on particular crypto exchanges, this is not going to come into it where it broke below the previous low there. Basically, your low here in 2015, then you had approximately just over 12 months coming up to a year and a half before we got the test, whereas this one happened in about 6 months. So it looks like we're going to be somewhere in between that as well before we come up to test 42K. So I highly doubt we're going to get to any of these ridiculous, crazy targets. This is the stuff that keeps a lot of people broke because they're looking at it in the next 12 or so weeks to go to $100,000. It's never happened before. Some of these counts are off and it's really going to wreck a lot of people as well. 22 months takes us out to September of 2024, and that is potentially the point, around that point, Q3, Q4 of 2024, where we get a breakout of a clean breakout of the 50% level. It had a close above the 50%, a close above the 50%, and then we go on that rampage towards the all-time high, the top of the cycle price. That's what I think is going to happen. This is the stuff to dearly look out for now. And when we get a peak or a push into that 50%, because it's going to come out stronger and they're going to say we're going to go to 50 or break new all-time highs very soon. And then obviously those ridiculous 100 or 200K targets. And then the minefield, you've got to look out for it again when we get into new all-time high prices, just like we did back in 2021, just like we did back in 2017, telling us the price was going to go to 50K or 100K, and in 2021, the same thing was going to go to 100 or 200K, and I'm sure for the guys in 2013 saying that it was going to go to 5 grand or 10 grand or whatever price target it was back then when it only hit $1,100 or $1,200. Hit that like and subscribe. Stay tuned to the channel. This is the place that we study the macro cycles, crypto, real estate, the stock market. And it may not be as exciting and emotionally driven as other channels or forecasts, but hopefully you're getting the idea about how the game is played out there. If you're feeling your emotions tingling when someone is telling you something, it's a warning sign. Emotions are not what the market wants. They don't want you to, well, they want you to put money into the markets on your emotions so they can take your money, because it's much easier to take money on emotions. Thanks once again, guys. I hope you're having a great start to your new week, and I'll see you at the next one. Till then, peace out.